If you care about soil that actually feeds plants instead of just holding them upright, this conversation matters. Before we go any further, make sure you subscribe to the Evergreen Garden YouTube channel and drop a comment below telling us what you're currently using in your soil, because this channel is built for gardeners who want results, not guesses. Today, we're clearing up a common confusion that quietly limits many gardens, the difference between wormwood and worm castings, and how each one truly affects soil biology. Many gardeners lump anything with worm in the name into the same mental category, but wormwood and worm castings are not interchangeable, and using the wrong one at the wrong time can stall growth instead of boosting it. Let's get straight into what separates these two and how to use them with intention. Wormwood is a strong aromatic plant, most commonly Artemisia absinthium, known for its bitter compounds and pest-repelling properties. In gardening, wormwood is typically used as a botanical extract, chopped plant material, or fermented tea. Its primary role is not feeding soil biology but controlling it. Wormwood contains compounds like absinthin and thujone, which suppress certain insects, fungi, and even microbial activity when applied heavily. When wormwood is added to soil or sprayed as a tea, it acts more like a regulator than a fertilizer. It discourages soil pests, deters root-feeding insects, and can slow down aggressive fungal outbreaks. This makes it useful in gardens dealing with recurring pest pressure or disease cycles, but it also means it should never be treated as a soil builder. If you add fresh wormwood leaves directly into active beds at high amounts, you can temporarily reduce microbial diversity. That's not theory, it's chemistry. Wormwood is antimicrobial by nature. Used incorrectly, it can interrupt the very soil food web gardeners work so hard to create. Worm castings are the end product of organic matter processed by earthworms, and they are one of the most biologically active soil amendments available. Castings are not just nutrients. They are living ecosystems containing beneficial bacteria, fungi, enzymes, humic substances, and plant growth regulators. When you add worm castings to soil, you are inoculating it with life. Castings improve nutrient availability rather than dumping nutrients all at once. Nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, and trace minerals are present in plant-available forms that do not burn roots. More importantly, worm castings increase microbial populations that form symbiotic relationships with plant roots. This is why plants grown in castings-amended soil show stronger root development, improved drought tolerance, and better resistance to stress. Worm castings don't fight biology, they multiply it. The mistake many gardeners make is assuming both materials improve soil. They do not improve soil in the same direction. Worm castings are a biological amplifier. Wormwood is a biological limiter. If your soil is compacted, lifeless, or struggling to support growth, wormwood will not fix that. You need castings to rebuild structure and microbial function. On the other hand, if your garden is overrun with root maggots, aphids cycling in the soil, or persistent fungal pressure, wormwood can be a strategic tool to reset conditions before rebuilding biology. Think of wormwood as a short-term intervention and worm castings as a long-term investment. For general garden beds, a practical and effective ratio is mixing worm castings at about 10 to 20% of the total soil volume. If you are preparing a raised bed, this translates to roughly 1 wheelbarrow of castings for every 5 to 8 wheelbarrows of soil and compost combined. This ratio provides enough biological activity without oversaturating the soil. For established plants, top dressing is one of the most effective methods. Apply a half-inch layer of worm castings around the root zone, keeping it slightly away from the stem, then water it in. Microbes will move downward naturally, improving root interaction over time. For liquid applications, worm casting tea can be made by steeping 1 cup of castings per gallon of non-chlorinated water for 12 to 24 hours with gentle aeration. This is especially effective for seedlings, transplants, and stressed plants. Wormwood should never be added raw into beds where you are actively building biology. Instead, you want to use it as a controlled tea or extract. A safe working ratio for wormwood tea is 1 handful of dried or fresh leaves per gallon of water, steeped for 24 hours, then diluted at a 1-to-1 ratio before application. Apply wormwood tea as a soil drench only when pest pressure is visible or expected, not as a routine treatment. Follow-up applications with worm castings or compost within 7 to 10 days to restore microbial balance. This sequencing really matters. Wormwood first to suppress the problem, then castings to rebuild life. Avoid using wormwood near young seedlings or newly transplanted plants. Mature plants tend to tolerate it better, while young roots are more sensitive to its compounds. In advanced organic systems, wormwood and worm castings can coexist, but timing separates success from failure. Wormwood belongs in the corrective phase of soil management. Worm castings belong in the regenerative phase. For example, if a bed has recurring soil-borne pests, apply wormwood tea at the end of a growing cycle or early in the off-season. Allow 2 weeks for its effects to settle. Then amend heavily with worm castings before planting. This approach reduces pest populations while ensuring the next crop benefits from a biologically rich environment. If your goal is resilient plants, improved nutrient cycling, and reduced dependency on inputs, worm castings should be a foundational amendment in your garden. Wormwood has its place, but it is not food for soil. Castings are. Healthy soil is alive, and anything that feeds life consistently will outperform anything that merely controls it. If this guide helped you clarify how to actually use wormwood and worm castings instead of guessing, make sure you subscribe to Evergreen Garden, share this with a fellow gardener who needs it, and leave a comment telling us what soil challenge you want tackled next. This channel is about building gardens that work season after season.